I'll see that. Okay, so welcome everybody to 10 Steps to Success, week 3. Today we're going to talk about goals. Goals, it's an interesting topic because, a lot of times we don't really know much about goals, right? I remember when I was younger, it was always a big deal. They talked about goals and they would say, hey, you need to set your goals, right? What are your goals in your life and stuff? But nobody really ever told me how to do it, right? So you just kind of said, well, okay, what's my goal? Yeah, I want to be, a professional someday, right? When you're a little kid, you're saying, oh yeah, my goal is to, I'm going to be rich, right? Or, oh, I'm going to be the president, or oh, I'm going to be a firefighter, whatever, right? And you just kind of have these goals and stuff. Or, hey, my goal is to, maybe get into college or, whatever. But they're just kind of, it's just out there, generic, kind of like, hey, yeah, okay, I think it would be great to do some of these things. But it's rare that you actually have somebody that's trained on how to properly set goals and make them work for you, right? So that's what I'm going to try and do today. And the reason why is this. So Mark McCormick, in his book, What They Don't Teach You at Harvard, right? Definitely recommended to get that book. He talks about a study that they did way back in 1979 and then 1989, where in 1979, Harvard graduates were asked, do you have clear goals written for your future and have you made plans to achieve them? And it turned out that only 3% of the graduates had actually written their goals down, right? They'd actually written down the plan and their goal. There were 13% had some goals, but they weren't written, right? And 84% had no specific goals other than just leaving school and going and enjoying their summer, right? So 10 years later, in 1989, they went back and they interviewed all of the graduates again. And they found that the 13% who had unwritten goals were actually earning, on average, about 2 times more than the 84% who had no goals. But more amazing, they found that the 3% who had specific and written goals upon leaving Harvard were actually earning an average of 10 times more than the other 97%. The only difference between these groups was the clarity of the goals when they graduated. Okay. So powerful, right? Goals can really actually be powerful, especially if they're written. That's the bottom line. So we start out with having a desire. And that actually takes us a little bit back to step number 1 of the 10 steps, which is to define your why, right? It's to have that desire. Because if you don't have your why, then it's just going to make it harder. Okay. So you got to have that intense personal desire that comes from defining your why in detail. And it's got to be so intense that nothing but the idea of achieving it will excite you and make you happy. Okay. So it's got to be clear and specific, defined with words. You got to write it in such a way that a child could read it and understand it. And it's got to be measured. It's got to be qualified, right? For example, I will earn $100,000 per year before, okay? That's a specific thing that's time measured. And it must be attainable. It's got to be realistic too, right? It cannot be so great that it could never be achieved, right? And of course, it must be in harmony with your other goals and your own personal values, okay? Because a goal without a plan is just a wish. So let's believe that it is attainable. If we change the way we think, we can change our life, right? We got to take out the trash. We got to get rid of the negative thinking, right? The stinking thinking. Okay. We got to believe that it's possible, right? So we select all the beliefs that we want. And then, what's one of the coolest things is to actually act as if you already reached the goal. I heard this once where somebody said, if you want to, act like, hey, I'm got the new car, or I've got the 6-figure income or whatever, you actually just start living that way and you kind of manifest it right in a way, but it's because you're thinking that way. right? If you're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to be a scarcity mindset. I'm going to think an abundance, and hey, this will come, and I'm going to make it happen. And of course, right, with that positive outlook. Okay, and then you got to be consistent, of course, with your actions and your words. And then, of course, here's the most important thing that I've learned about goal setting is that it needs to be based on something that depends on you, right? Depends on something you can do, not what depends on other people or depends on third parties or anything like that. Because here's the example. If I set a goal and I say I'm going to go and enroll 2 people in my business this week, okay? Well, what could happen, right? Those 2 people could say no, right? All the people you talk to could potentially turn you down and you don't sign them up. And so at the end of the week, well, you didn't hit your goal. Why? Not because you didn't try, but because it was out of your control. It wasn't dependent on you. But if you change that goal to be this week, I will talk with 2 people every single day, right? Then at the end of the week, if you talk to 2 people every single day, you hit your goal. It doesn't matter if they said yes or not, right? It doesn't matter if they signed up. All that matters is that you talk to 2 people each day of the week for the entire week. Did you do that? Yes. Awesome. You hit your goal. Now, what does the law of averages teach? It teaches that if you actually went and talked to 2 people every single day for, 7 days, you're probably going to get a sign up, right? Probably two. Okay. So the result is going to probably be the same that you actually signed up 2 people. But if not, if at the end of the week you didn't, you can still say, I did my goal. And now it just becomes a question of numbers, right? So and what it does is it's psychological because now you feel like I achieved it. I did what I said I was going to do, right? And so you can, instead of feeling like a failure, instead of feeling like, oh, I'm no good, right? You can say, I did it because it was dependent on you doing it, not on what other people decided. Okay. So now once we've figured out that, okay, these are the kind of goals that we want, we're going to get rid of the negativity. We're going to make sure they're based on, realistic potential. We're going to, make sure that there's something that's based on us and what we can actually do. Now we're going to write them down. We're actually going to write them. Okay. This is the most important step. If you don't write them down, then you forget. You kind of, get busy, you get distracted, and it goes by the wayside. So if you write it down, it now becomes a goal, right? A goal not written is not a goal, actually, right? It's just a dream. Like the quote here says, a dream written down with a date now becomes a goal. And then a goal broken down into steps becomes the plan. And now the plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to write it down because the mere act of writing it on paper actually increases the possibility of achieving it, right? It ingrains it into our mind and what we're thinking about. Okay. So we're going to imagine with no limitations. We're going to write and rewrite our goals daily, week after week, month after month. So we need to get in the habit of analyzing our goals every single day, right? Shouldn't take very long, right? I mean, you can just pick a few goals and set those for the week and maybe have a few long-term goals as well. And so it's not like you have to come up with brand new goals every single day and rethink it and everything. No, it's just redoing it every single day. Oh yeah, okay. And writing it down again, adjusting if you need to, right? And then asking yourself constantly, how will I measure success in achieving this goal? So now we're going to decide where to start. So we got to figure out, well, where am I now? Right? So, if my goal is to make $100,000 a year, well, that assumes that you're probably not already making $100,000 a year, right? So if you're somebody that already makes $100,000 a year from your job or whatever, then maybe your goal needs to be, oh, I'm going to make $500,000, right? I'm going to bump it up. So you got to figure out where you're at, where you're going to start, and where you need to go. Be honest in the reality of your current state. Okay. You need to practice zero-based thinking. You don't let the past determine the future. So this is one of those things that really gets in the way of people, is not treating each day as if it was a brand new opportunity, right? Too many times you start the day and you just kind of second guess, or you start to base it on the past experience. Oh, I never achieved it before. Oh, there's how many times I didn't do it before, right? And you start thinking about the past and your past failures. Can't do that. You got to treat every single day as if it were literally the very first day, right? And because when you do that, because you're always going to be moving forward at least a little bit, right? And so if you start each day as if it was brand new, you can be grateful. It's like, wow, I'm actually starting way ahead of where I started, a year ago, right? And so if we can think of zero-based thinking, meaning just, hey, we're not worried about the past. We've got blue ocean ahead of us, right? Then now we're going to be able to eliminate that self-doubt. Okay. Now, imagine starting over. Remember, you are not obligated to anything by decisions in the past. Okay. Doesn't matter how many times you failed. Doesn't matter how many times it fell through on you or whatever, because all of the great breakthroughs in all of history was just because people got up one more time and tried again, right? That's the point. Nobody ever did it on the first try, ever. Okay. I mean, that's it should be common sense, right? It's the way it is. No huge successful company ever did it on the very, very first try. Of course not. And so that's why we just keep getting up and doing it over again. That's what is a champion. I love the movie Rocky, because that's basically the message. The message of Rocky isn't how many times you got knocked down. It's just that you were standing at the end. You kept getting up no matter what, right? And that's what makes you a champion. So if we do that, we're going to be successful. And then, of course, we create our strategic plan. So now we're going to determine why we want it. Okay, so we're going to make a list of all the benefits of achieving the goal. So it's not just, oh, okay, I want to make a six-figure income, or oh, hey, I want to become whatever rank in the company, right? Or oh yeah, I want to be able to have a nicer house or whatever. You get into specifics, right? You get into something where you're now talking about all the huge benefits of what it would actually be like to have that kind of income, or to have that new car, or have that new house, or being able to go and volunteer, right, all across the world, and in whatever way you want to do it, building an orphanage. I was actually privileged this last week to hear a story about a couple of colleagues of mine who went down to Mexico, and they had sponsored a family. They have a program where you can actually sponsor in certain situations where maybe the husband, he was in an accident in this case, right? And so he was permanently disabled, and he was no longer able to work. And so what they did was they sponsored this family together with this company, and they go down and they actually build them a home. They build a brand new home for the family, and they do it in literally a day. Like, they show up on Saturday morning and they build the home all throughout the day, and by the afternoon they have an entire home. Now, it's not a huge home, right? It's maybe like a little two-bedroom thing with a bathroom and a kitchen, right? But they literally build an entire house in one day all together, this whole group of people. They go in, and then they donate that house to the family. And then the other thing they do is, for the kids, they actually give them a scholarship so that the kids can go into this nice, prestigious private school, right? That they can go to, and then when they actually get done with the schooling, and they graduate, then they have a guaranteed entry into any university in the United States. It's awesome. It's one of the coolest programs I ever heard of. And so I heard about that. These colleagues of mine, that's what they did. They went down last weekend, and they were there basically Saturday and Sunday. They built a house for this family, and then they came home, and on Monday they were telling us about it, how they went and did that. And I went, that is the coolest thing ever. So anyway, that is the kind of thing that we can think about, right? Why we want to do this is because look at the good we can go do in the world. right? At least that's for me, one of the motivating factors, right? So why do goals matter? Because your team can't achieve a goal if it doesn't know about it. Okay, you got to know what the goal is and the benefits of it, and why it's going to benefit them. So if we're talking about now from personal goals to team goals, okay, well, guess what? 69% of high performing companies rank communicating business goals company wide as the most effective and important way to build a high performing team. So that's the thing, is defining that goal, really sharing it, really understanding the benefit of it, and sharing it with the team so that it can be a group effort, right? So we could do a team goal of saying, hey, together we're going to go down and build a house for a family in Mexico, and so that they have a place to live and that their kids can go to a private school, right? And just be part of that and give that service. So if that doesn't motivate you, figure out something that does. Okay, but there's got to be, like it says here, 40 or 50 reasons that you'll be so motivated that nobody can stop you. Okay, and that's where we want to get. Now we're going to put a time limit on it, because without a date, there's not enough motivation, right? So we got to have the commitment. We got to leave all the excuses aside. We got to make up our mind. We don't let anything distract us. We got to be 100%, complete 100%. There's a big difference between doing something 95% and doing it 100%, right? And then we're going to close out, meaning unfinished tasks, unresolved personal issues, they all leave us dissatisfied and cause stress and failure. So we're not going to let any of that affect us. And then we're going to set the target. If you don't hit the date, well, that's okay to set another date, of course, right? But just never give up, because goals are dreams with deadlines. And without those deadlines, our dreams are dead in the water. So we're going to put those time limits on there and really try and achieve it. We're not going to just kind of like keep postponing it out there. Oh, eventually, right now. We're going to say, hey, by this time, we're going to be doing it. Then we're going to identify the obstacles that could potentially get in our way. Okay. Because, if we actually haven't achieved our goal already, we got to analyze what stopped us. And of all those obstacles, which one is the biggest? So usually we can go by the 80-20 rule, right? Where 80% of the reasons you don't achieve the goal are internal. Okay. They're not external things, third party things, especially if we're setting the right kind of goal, like I mentioned, where it's based on you, right? Not third person or third party. So if we can recognize that 80% of it really is us, and our motivation level and kind of what we put out there. So we can't blame other people and circumstances around us, right? We got to think of terms of solutions, not difficulties. And of course, we know that the two biggest obstacles are fear and doubt, right? So if we can have that motivation and really focus on our why, then we can overcome that fear and doubt. It's going to be more powerful than the fear and doubt could ever be. And then, of course, the key to success is knowledge and skill. So we got to continually be sharpening the saw, sharpening the tools, learning new things, right? So that we become better. I love the quote from Jim Rohn, where he basically says, don't wish that it were easier, wish that you were better. And that is the thing. If we set a goal out there and it seems impossible, but then next thing you know, you've learned some new skills, you've learned some new things, you've practiced, right, and everything. All of a sudden, it doesn't seem so hard anymore, right? It doesn't seem so difficult anymore. And now we can set even bigger goals. Okay. So we're going to determine the knowledge and skills we need. We're only one ability away from doubling our productivity. Think about that. One ability away from doubling your productivity. Now, here's an example. For those that don't know, I speak Spanish, and I think about that a lot. Where because I speak Spanish, it's a skill I was able to develop, and because of that, I can double my productivity because I can actually do meetings and presentations and other things in two languages. Right? I've kind of doubled my my market, because now I can talk with Spanish speaking people and English speaking people, and I have more people to talk to, right? And so I can double my productivity. Now, that's just one example, learning a new language, but it could be so many other things. It could be just learning how to do YouTube videos, or it could be, learning how to do, what's the word, writing, and just how to create, posts and things, right? I mean, it could be learning how to do social media. There's so many different things that we can learn, leadership skills or whatever, communication skills, but one ability away from doubling your productivity. So excellence is a journey, right? We know that. Everything that's worth doing is worth doing badly at the beginning. And so that's the other key thing is you might think, oh, I could never learn a new language, or oh, I'm not good at social media, or I'm not good at public speaking, or I'm not whatever it is, right? You're always going to start out badly in the beginning. That's just how everybody is. There's very few people that have that natural, talent to just go and do things. Most people, if they want to do something, they have to start out badly and then get good at it. Okay. So we remember that it really is just a simple formula. Okay. 3+1. So here's what it is. First, you read about the skill every single day. So you pick one, right? You pick whatever skill it is that you want to develop, and then you read about it every single day for 15 minutes, right? Second, you're going to listen to audio programs in the car, or wherever you can, right? Same thing for about 15 minutes. Then third, you're going to go to seminars and workshops on the subject. Okay. And then finally, you're going to practice what you heard. You take the action, right? And then it's all about practice, practice, practice. So if you can do that, if you can pick a skill, read about it for 15 minutes every day, listen to people talking about it and training on it for 15 minutes every day, go to certain seminars and courses or whatever as often as you can, and then start to do it, you will get that skill and you will now double your productivity. Okay, now the other thing too is you never want to be alone on an island, right? We have to remember that there are people that can help us. So, in other words, we want to find a mentor, right? And it's all about relationships. Everything in life and business is about relationships. And so, the more people we know, the more successful we're going to be because we're going to talk to them, we're going to get to know them. They're going to rub off on us, right? We're going to see how they're doing things and then watch their example and all that. So if we approach the right people, people that we respect and who are achieving the same kind of goals that we would like to achieve, we're going to be able to see how they do it. We're going to be able to learn from them. We're going to be able to listen to them and take into our lives what they've already accomplished, right? So the most important relationship, of course, is family and friends, right? If your life at home is good, everything else is going to be easier. But then we need to become a relationship expert. So the golden rule, of course, do unto others what you would have them do unto you. Remember that always. Okay. And so we're always going to be kind. We're always going to be, thoughtful and talk to people and really care about them and their interests and stuff. And then, of course, we treat everyone at home and in the business as $1 million customer because they just might be. You never know. You never know who's going to bring who into your life, right? And whether that's just through friendships and mentorship and stuff, or it could be just somebody coming into the business, right, as a rep, and then they bring other people. I've seen that tons of times where I'll bring in somebody into the business, and then they bring somebody into the business, and then like 3 generations away, 3 or 4 generations away, all of a sudden they bring in somebody who's a rock star, who's a go-getter, right? And then all of a sudden they're going out and they're bringing in hundreds and thousands of people, and so it was, but it all started with me talking to one person who talked to another person who then brought in the rock star, right? And that's really how it is. If you can maintain that idea that everybody is $1 million customer just because of who they know, just because of who they could potentially bring, right? Doesn't mean that they are going to bring in 10,000 people all at once, but it does mean that they know some people that they're going to talk to, who know some people who they're going to talk to, and so on, right? So everybody is $1 million customer because of their potential. Okay. All right, now we're going to make a plan to put it all together. So we're going to make a list of each task and activity. We're going to determine the priority and sequence, identify the vital elements of that plan and focus on them, expect failure at the beginning, focus on the solution, review your plan regularly, and then just manage your time. That's really what it comes down to. is managing your time so that you actually accomplish your short-term goals, which would probably be daily goals, every single day, right? And then your medium-term goals and your long-term goals will eventually become reality because you were consistent doing the daily and weekly short-term stuff. Okay. So it's just as simple as setting that goal, making that plan, getting to work, sticking to it, and reaching it. Now we're going to visualize constantly, right? So when we're not actually working on our goal, okay, when we're doing other things that we got to do, we can still motivate ourselves, right? We can still feed our mind with exciting images. We can crop images of the person that we want to be from magazines and newspapers. We can post them up everywhere, right? We can take time to meditate for at least 10 minutes every single day, thinking about our goals and how we're going to achieve them. One thing I heard that really stuck out to me was somebody talking about, hey, one day I want to have a private jet, right? Or I want to have a yacht. And so what did they do? They went and they subscribed to the private jet magazine or the yacht magazine. So every single month they were getting in the mail a magazine that showed all the coolest, private jets that were coming out, right? And all the latest, stuff on yachts and everything. Why? Because it was a constant reminder every single month. Oh yeah, ooh, that's the yacht I want to get, or oh, that's the private jet I want to get, right? Or what, maybe dumb it down a little bit. Hey, you know what? I'm a Chevy Colorado fan, and my goal is to get my Chevy Colorado. So okay, I'm going to sign up for the Chevy magazine and have the Chevy magazine send me stuff, and so I'm getting the latest stuff on. Oh, look at this is the new model of Chevy Colorado. Oh, look at that new color they're going to come out with, right? So it's constantly on your mind, reminding you of your goal. Okay, another really awesome way to keep motivated. And then, of course, never give up. We're going to decide from the very beginning that you're not going to give up ever. Okay. Make the decision that no matter the obstacle, you will persevere. Self discipline is the key to success. And remember that as good as your plan is, life will always give you adversity and problems. So just know that, and it will make it easier to keep going, right? The number one reason why people give up so fast is because they tend to look at how far they still have to go instead of how far they've got. So, my friends, that is a quick, 20-minute, 30-minute thing on goal setting. Hopefully that was helpful for you to kind of go out and to really start writing down those goals, deciding what they are and how you're going to, start applying them in your life, whether it's, physical, spiritual, financial, whatever it is. There's so many things that we can improve upon. And the goal setting is the first step in that. There's several more, right? Of course, defining your why, getting going with your business, and now setting those goals so that you now have short-term, medium-term, and long-term guideposts, right? That's what they are, guideposts on how to achieve the most success possible in your chosen business. So with that, we'll let you get back to your Saturdays. Thanks so much for jumping on today. And we will see you next week with step number 4, which is all about commitment. All right. Have an awesome Saturday. We'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Welcome.